guys, this is me up at 7:30 in the morning to do a saliva test. Yeah, I'm gonna do this 11 days throughout the month to test my progesterone estrogen ratio to see if I have a hormonal imbalance. So there's a lot of women who have imbalances in their hormones, and I just want to know. So hence the early morning testing. But it's easy, it's non-invasive. All you have to do is spit in a little jar. So yeah, that's it. Morning. Okay, that should be enough. Just pop on the lid and put in the time. It's like hello.
Hi. So we're back for your test results, and just a little bit of background. So as I understand from the information that you've given me, that you're trying to fall pregnant, and that you've also had already done one cycle of IVF.
Yep.
And some of the symptoms that you had hormonally were things like mood swings, painful heavy periods, and also wanting to know sort of some of the side effects that you experienced when you have progesterone given to you as part of fertility treatment.
Yeah.
So what we did was we actually measured your free hormone levels. So the difference is that the free hormone levels are actually what your cells are responding to.
Okay.
So that's quite different to when you do a blood test, which is really looking for what your body is producing. So some of the signs and symptoms that you might be experiencing before periods may be a result of an imbalance of some of these hormones. So that's why we did a saliva test over the 28 days, and we collected, or you collected, actually I didn't, but you did. You collected 11 samples on different times of the month, and so now we have this test result. So if you can actually look at the test results, you'll see that the first column is the level of estrogen, which is E2 that your body makes, and the second column is progesterone, and then you've got the third column that is the ratio or the balance between your progesterone levels and estrogen. So what does it all mean? So what it means is that we want to know how much of all these hormones are active in your body, but we also want to know, are they balanced? Because hormones are very complicated, and we want to have a balance of all those hormones, because if they are not balanced, so for example, when your estrogen is so high throughout your entire cycle, when actually it should be within the green area of the graph, you may experience, so
it's
you'll
red.
see. Yeah.
Red.
So you ideally want it to be in that green area, and you'll see that the green area fluctuates throughout your cycle, because that's normal. Now what can happen is if you're actually in the higher end, you'll experience things like mood swings, bloating, swelling, breast tenderness, and also heavier periods. And this is an issue, because not just for symptoms, but for fertility as well. Because if we then look at the second column, you'll see that the progesterone levels go up on day 20, Okay, so it means that you have ovulated, or you may have ovulated maybe the day before on day 19, but then when you actually look at the balance between your progesterone and your estrogen is actually really low. So what does that mean? That could mean that there are issues with the way that your body is actually detoxifying hormones. So it's important to look at that particular pathway to balance things out. And there are also some key nutrients that are important in supporting ovulation and hormone health. So we want to maximize that, because when you make progesterone, it's actually made from your egg. So that's the reason why you'll see that the green area of progesterone is actually later on in the cycle. So often we'll see a peak level of progesterone being produced the day after you've ovulated. So you can see that on day 20 you had a peak level. So you probably would have ovulated on day 19. But the only other way that we can check whether you've ovulated is we do another hormone test to confirm that. But we also want to know whether or not there will be issues with IVF. And one of the issues is if you actually don't have sufficient levels of progesterone, you actually don't get a thickening of the endometrial lining. So when you do IVF and you actually implant the egg into the uterus, it doesn't actually take. So that's something which we actually have to address. So one of the ways is to make sure that we understand nutrition.
Yeah.
Because hormones are made from cholesterol, and cholesterol comes from fats. So it's important to have good types of fats, reducing processed fats and trans fats, and also minimizing saturated fats. So we all do need some type of saturated fats, but the problem is if you have too much saturated fats, but you don't actually have the healthy omega-3 and omega-6, then you don't have healthy cell membranes. And so your egg actually is made by cell membranes. So cell membranes are really important for making these hormones. So to have healthy cell membranes, you want to have a good balance of the healthy omega-3 and omega-6.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also when you look into symptoms with premenstrual syndrome, the omega-6 fatty acids are actually also healthy. So they often come from plant-based foods, things like nuts, seeds, sunflower oil, and these are all types of omega-6 fats. Now you also sometimes read that having too much omega-6 is actually not healthy because it becomes more inflammatory, and that can cause period pain, that can cause inflammation. And one of the reasons is because if you've eaten a lot of saturated fats, then the enzyme that actually helps to metabolize these fats tends to go down the pathway of making more inflamed fats.
Okay.
So that's what we call arachidonic acid. But if you actually have a good balance of omega-3, then the pathway goes down into the healthy pathway, which is anti-inflammatory and supports the immune system and modulates your hormones. So some of the enzymes, or the particular enzyme that's needed to do this, require nutrients, and they are called cofactors. So these cofactors are zinc, biotin, B6, and magnesium. So you'll find that sometimes when you look at women's symptoms such as PMS, you'll see that people recommend evening primrose oil.
Yes.
So evening primrose oil is actually an omega-6 fatty acid, and that goes down the anti-inflammatory pathway and eases off heavy periods and painful periods. But you also have to make sure that you've got enough of those other nutrients that we talked about. So that's why when you experience more stress, you will actually deplete things like magnesium and B vitamins. And these nutrients are also the same nutrients that are required to convert the fatty acids into the healthier ones. So you can actually see the connection between stress and hormones, and also your diet. Okay.
That makes sense.
All right. So yeah, that's one thing for the progesterone and healthy ovulation and healthy eggs. The other one is how do we now remove some of the excess estrogen? So one of the things that we found is that estrogen or any other type of hormones or toxins are actually metabolized or treated in your liver. because your liver is a very important detox organ. So usually I say there are 5 major detox organs: liver, gut, kidney, skin, and your lungs. So when we talk about estrogen, we're looking specifically at the liver and the gut. So 2 ways of improving estrogen breakdown is looking at nutrients that help support the liver, breaking it down. So those will be your minerals and vitamins. So your vitamin B's, your magnesium, your zinc, and vitamin C's, and also amino acids. And in particular, we're looking at things like cysteine amino acids, because there are many, many different types. But the most important type we want to make sure we have enough of are foods that are rich in cysteine. So foods that are rich in cysteine are proteins. So foods that contain protein, particularly things like eggs, but also what we call sulfur-based foods. So they often have a kind of a bit of a stinky, rotten egg smell. So things like broccoli, or the brassica group of families, sprouts, alfalfas, garlic, and onions. Okay, so incorporating more of these foods in your diet will be helpful. And we also then look at the gut. So one of the things that actually helps to bind estrogen in the gut is flaxseed.
Yes.
So the actual whole seeds, not the oil.
Yeah.
So if you have very high levels, such as yourself, you might actually want to have about 3.5 tablespoons a day of flaxseed. So you can put that into smoothies, you can put that into your yogurt, on your salad. You can make a recipe out of it. So there are many different ways of incorporating that.
Okay, that's easy to do.
Okay.
And I got prescribed this one called PROGESTERONE Lift, which is supposed to lift my my progesterone level.
Is good in supporting progesterone production and improving the health of the egg, and also it helps to connect the messages that your brain sends to your ovaries. It helps to balance these areas. So we recommend that you can take this for a couple of months until things are balanced, and we would actually retest the results.
Yeah.
And then we will see after 3 months.
Oh, great. Okay, and I've been on that for about a month now.
Yeah. So we would do the flaxseed. You can actually also incorporate the sulfur foods that we talked about, the cysteine. And usually it takes about 2 to 3 months for your own estrogen levels to slowly come down.
Okay.
And when we remeasure it, we can see.
Yeah. And that's perfect, because that's when we're going to try the IVF.
Yeah.
So it's good to kind of plan beforehand.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing that may not be relevant to you because you don't have polycystic ovaries, but it could be something that you would maybe keep in mind, is that something called N-acetylcysteine. So it's actually a particular supplement that has been shown to improve the endometrial thickness and also the quality of the eggs that's produced by women who have PCOS.
Yeah, so many women have this.
Yes, a lot of women have this. Often it's associated with pre-diabetes, insulin resistance, hair loss, abnormal hair growth, and weight gain or obesity, and acne. And also high androgen levels or high male sex hormone levels. So in these types of women, you want to also make sure that they have a good diet, so they're balancing everything, they're not eating a lot of processed foods or sugars and fats. And if they do undergo IVF treatment and they're taking fertility drugs, then N-acetylcysteine as a supplement can be taken to improve the ovulation and quality of the egg.
Okay, that's good to know to all of you girls out there. PCOS. Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Hey, great. So I've been doing the saliva test now for a month, and I'm gonna start taking these PROGESTERONE Lift pills, which is a progesterone supplement, and I'm just gonna take one each day just to boost my cells, and then we'll see.